Good afternoon and welcome back in here to RSBN Live in Studio A. I'm Matthew Alvarez. On the president's schedule today at 3 o'clock, the president will have a meeting with Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy. Currently, that's closed to the press. That may open. We'll see. We'll be here for it if it does. At 4:30, the president will have a meeting, specifically a policy meeting in the Oval Office. That's at 4:30. That is also closed to the press. So if anything opens up, we're here for it. If there's any breaking news, we will cover it. We have a lot of interviews to get to. Of course, we're going to go over yesterday's State of the Union address. A lot of great guests will be joining our show today, talking about all things we the people, President Trump, the State of the Union, and all of the policies out there, what it takes to win for all the things when it comes to our country. So we'll go there in just a minute. As for the schedule for the remainder of the week, the president will be in Corpus Christi, Texas on Friday to deliver a speech and stump for those running in the November midterm election. In the meantime, we're going to get ready to go to a live interview out of Iowa for reaction about the president's State of the Union address. So as soon as we have Ryan Rhodes on the line, we'll go there live. In the meantime, let's go to clip one. Last night, the Democrats stayed seated when asked a very simple question about the safety of American citizens. Let's take a look.
So tonight, I'm inviting every legislator to join with my administration in reaffirming a fundamental principle. If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself.
All right, so for reaction about the president's State of the Union address, let's go to the Hawkeye State where Ryan Rhodes is running for Congress to represent the great people of Iowa. Thank you so much for joining us, Ryan.
Well, it's great to be back with you here today. So
definitely. First, can you sum up the president's speech, putting you on the spot here, in one word?
Fantastic.
So can you explain a little bit why you think yesterday's speech was fantastic?
Well, one, I think it highlighted so much winning, even as much as the Olympic hockey team is winning. We have children and getting the savings accounts where by the time they're 18, all of a sudden they're going to have a nest egg, something to pay for college, something to potentially be a down payment on a house. That's a lot of wins for the future of our country. We talked about the winning we had with not losing a single soldier in Venezuela, even while there was an injury, a guy who was a hero and got the Medal of Honor, yet Democrats can't even stand for him. So it's a lot of winning for America, but the Democrats are very unhappy with it, and I think that's what was some of the fantastic things he showed.
Yeah, exactly. And then yesterday, it just really shows how horrible the Democrat Party can be when they can't even clap or stand for very real things. You know, it's just a human touch of things. And if they can't even understand that they're on a different planet. And I think a lot of people would agree with that, with being woke and all that. So let's talk about the Hawkeye State, Iowa, your run for Congress. As you are getting ready for the midterm election, what's it like out there when you're meeting people in Iowa?
Well, I think people are starting to wake up. It was a little quiet and a little cold during the winter with everybody getting out, but people are starting to get more and more engaged. And what they want is they want people ready to back up Donald Trump, but they also want to go the next step on what's going on, because there is so much fraud that has to be dealt with. And President Trump talked about that last night. He said, we're going to go after this stuff. We have to stop these sanctuary cities. While Mamdani may be nice, he says we've got to stop those policies because they're just so broken and it's just so wrong. And we saw people up on stage where mothers who were mourning their children who had been killed by people let out of jail, criminals, and then criminal illegal aliens. This is stuff that has to stop. That's the next step. I'm hearing this about all of this around the country. I'm hearing about the wins that people are starting to see in tax season. And I think people are getting ready and getting excited again.
To your point, the border security, that was number one. And number two, when it comes to the core promises to the American people, to close the border and have a mass deportation operation. Because a little bit later in the broadcast, we're going to go through some of the Angel Family's event from the White House. And there's a list of names of people that have been killed by criminal illegal aliens. What doesn't the left or those that are against ICE understand about that? We don't know who the people are, and then they're committing crimes. And then on top of that, other crimes like voter fraud. You can't be an illegal alien and vote in this country. And that's why the Save America Act is so important to pass, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. And I hear that on the ground as well. President Trump has made this a key portion of, if we don't know who's voting, then we don't have control of our own country. It is really simple, okay? The same Democrats who literally voted for federal ID and said, of course everybody can get a federal ID to get on a plane or anything else, are the same Democrats going out there and saying, how dare you? You cannot possibly have an ID to vote. 80% of the entire country wants the Save America Act passed, because even the left thinks we cheat, and we know they cheat. So it's got to get done.
Yeah, it's so wild. I mean, we saw what happened in 2020. You know, President Trump obviously won in a landslide in 2016. He won in a landslide in 2024. And it's one of those things that either people say it or they keep quiet about it, but he won in a landslide in 2020, and we all know it, you know? Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I was in Philadelphia. I watched what they were doing, and there was no transparency. They were shoving things in the middle of the night. The same thing happened in Michigan and Georgia. And it's those types of things that make people not trust the system, think everything's broken. And it's very simple. It won't fix everything, but the Save America Act will restore a lot of trust in our elections on every side, that something is being done to secure their vote so it counts as more.
I remember it like it was yesterday when it comes to COVID-19. Everybody's saying, well, you're probably going to have to stay home, mail in your ballot, wink, wink. I mean, we saw that happen. And isn't it great, Ryan, to live in a country that we have constitutional rights, that you and I can go on a national broadcast, in some cases people watch around the world as well, and say these things, have the freedom of speech, and freedom of the press. That's protected here in this country, but unfortunately, Ryan, we see that there are some that want to take that speech away. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, look, if we have to stand up for this right now, we have to fight for it right now, because it is beautiful that we can go have these disagreements, talk about these very, very tough things. but we can look even just across the pond. The UK has all kinds of speech problems, and that they're going and arresting people for their own speech. So we better fight like hell here at home, or else we're going to be, we're only a few years away from what's going on in the UK, what's going on in Germany. And I think that's why you have the president and why you have J.D. Vance going over there and saying, you guys better get this under control if we're going to save Western civilization. And one of the components of Western civilization is free speech, being able to speak your mind and love your country.
100%. As long as there's no threat of violence, that kind of thing, you're free to say what you want out there. There's a lot of people that say, well, what about hate speech? Well, actually, there's really no such thing as that. That's something that's concocted from the left, saying, no, you can't talk like that. They're trying to silence the people because they hate the truth, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Ryan Rhodes is running for Congress in Iowa, of course. So good luck to you. We'll have you back on the show.
Thank you.
Ryan, thank you so much.
Always a pleasure. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, it's 2:10 Eastern Time, Wednesday, February 25th. Great to see Ryan Rhodes join us once again here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's, again, great to have people that are thinking clearly, common sense, right? All the things. So let's go to a few of our sponsors before we continue on with our live broadcast today. Let's go to All Family Pharmacy, great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Of course, a quick question for you. When was the last time you actually restocked your medicine cabinet? Well, most people wait until someone gets sick, unfortunately. Then everybody's scrambling, calling the doctor, waiting on appointments, hoping the pharmacy has what they need. You should always, of course, have what you need at home, especially when it comes to medicine. And if you already know the name All Family Pharmacy, you know there's a better way. And when you go to allfamilypharmacy.com, you can stock up in advance on essentials like antibiotics, antivirals, ivermectin, mebendazole, NAD+, Tamiflu, and more. There are more than 300 prescription medications available. Everything reviewed and prescribed safely by their licensed doctors and shipped straight to your door. So you can be prepared before you need it. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN10 promo code to get that percentage off. Let's go from All Family to Birch Gold. International disputes, inflation, rising national debt, digital currency. There's a never-ending list of reasons gold has risen over 700% in the last 20 years, and a never-ending list of reasons smart Americans diversify a portion of their savings into precious metals with Birch Gold Group. More than any other commodity on earth, gold thrives during uncertainty, which is why it's a crucial part of a balanced strategy. It gives you peace of mind given all the events that can impact the U.S. economy. So see if holding gold as a tax-sheltered retirement account is right for you too. Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold. All you have to do is see what you see on the screen there. Text Trump to the number 989898. This will have you receive a free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, just useful information. With an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, let Birch Gold help you diversify with gold so you too can have peace of mind regardless the uncertainty. Text Trump to 989898. Again, you can text Trump to 989898. All right, 13 minutes after the hour here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, we just had Ryan Rhodes join us live. He's running for Congress in Iowa. If you're just joining us, we started out the broadcast with a video from last night's State of the Union address. President Trump talking to the Democrats sitting to his right or left at home, and they sat down for a lot of things that maybe they should have been clapping and standing up for. We're going to talk to a few people about that coming up in just a minute. Also, a bit later in the broadcast, we'll dive into more about the Democrats' non-reaction. Plus, we'll also revisit some of the White House events from earlier this week. In the meantime, let's go to the Lone Star State, where Paul Bondar is running for a congressional seat in the Lone Star State. And joining us now on Right Side Broadcasting Network is Paul Bondar, running for Congress in the great state of Texas. Paul, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, I'm so honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Definitely. Let's talk about why you're running for office. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm running for office because for too long the government is not working for the people. The people are working for the government. And we live right now in a system where people cannot withstand this any longer. And frankly, our systems right now, as I got into this campaign, I knew it was bad. I didn't know it was this bad. It's an absolute rigged swamp where people can essentially with dark money buy campaigns. And there's a lot of business people that are like to be in private equity and they like to buy businesses and have control. Well, if you're wondering why you send these congressmen and these different elected officials up to Capitol Hill and you have such high hopes for them and they're disappointed, I'm telling you, it happens during the electoral process. That's what goes on. And so this has become very evident in this election.
I'm going to be straight up with you. We've got a nice set here, Studio A at Right Side Broadcasting Network, but we're not mainstream, and we like people like you because we love we the people, God, the Constitution, faith, and freedom. So let's just talk about the heartbeat of America, sir. Obviously running for that as well, aren't you?
Yeah. We had an election that was stolen in 2020. When I was watching the 2020 election, Trump was leading by, I think at the time it might have been 7, 8 points in Pennsylvania. And then all of a sudden, miraculously, ballots started pouring in the battleground states. And the next morning, I didn't even go to bed. I watched the whole thing. I never slept. And I saw what was horrific. I'm telling you right now, George Soros influences a lot of elections. But I'm also going to tell you right now on the Republican side, you got a guy by the name of Peter Thiel that's doing the same thing. Look at Strong PAC. There's 5 new seats that have been created in the state of Texas. This is supposed to be a good thing. Government is supposed to work for the people, and the Republicans are supposed to pick up 5 seats. Well, what about this Strong PAC? I can tell you about the wonderful candidate that I'm running against, that Mr. Thiel and the Strong PAC want to get behind. Strong PAC filing is FEC number C as in Charlie 009-37094. That's their FEC filing. Over $1.1 million of dark money has been funded for their little puppet candidate, Jay Scarborough. This is a guy that never held office. He actually ran against Brent Hagenbu for a state seat 2 years ago and sued Brent Hagenbu for not living in the district. He lost his lawsuit. And now, Mr. Yarborough, who lives 70 some miles, about 2 hours when you get a little traffic, maybe a little over an hour without traffic, away from our district, who has no ties to this district of any substance, is now going to be the endorsed, beautiful candidate on paper that everybody's supposed to rally and be excited about? What are people excited about? His hypocrisy of running a failed Senate campaign and suing somebody who doesn't live in the district and then turning around and doing the same himself? Is that what people should be excited about? Or the fact he's taking almost $1.1 million of dark money through the Strong PAC, who's pushing his endorsements and leveraging him like a puppet? This is the real election, ladies and gentlemen. The other stuff is just noise. Stop worrying about who is more of a Trumpian candidate and who's going to sit there and act more conservative. It's a bunch of bull. Our elections are a sham and a scam. And I'm the one that has the courage to say we need radical finance campaign reform. In no election should $1 million be pumped in where we don't know who's behind the money. We don't know who this money is being used to purchase ads out of Delaware. Dover, Delaware has purchased, under the corporation Ballast LLC, has purchased, looks like $840,000 for Mr. Yarborough. Why does Dover, Delaware, why are they getting in a shell corp? Why are they so excited to get behind a guy who claims to be a 7th generation Texan who lives 25 miles from the shadow of the Oklahoma border, who never held office? Why? Why is GRP buying out of Arlington, Ohio, so excited to get behind this candidate? And why is Darby House out of 4201 Wilson Boulevard, Suite 110 in Arlington, Virginia, on the Beltline of DC, why are they so excited to get behind a guy who's supposed to be, a Texas guy? Seems to me like what he is he's an extension of a political machine that's utilized to buy elections and keep people like myself from being able to represent the people who actually live in the district.
And that's what it's all about. It's about representing we the people and having what we want done in our country. We don't like the dog and pony show. We don't like the same old politics. We are, to your point, It seems like you have a frustration and an anger towards what's been going on out there. And guess what? So do a lot of people. So let's just kind of focus in on that. What was it that got you to say, you know what, I have to do this?
I got two kids and I have two grandfathers, and I'm in between those generations, right? I have two grandfathers that went and fought for 4 years of their lives in Europe, sleeping in the snow. My one grandfather fought in 23 major battles. He was awarded the Silver Star. He was one of nine out of 2,000 plus men to live. That means 1,991 men died around him, and he saw that. And he told me when I grew up in the 1980s, between him and Ronald Reagan, there were two big influences on my life. We are one generation away from losing freedom. And I hate to say it, we're very close to losing freedom. This is a charade. And this is why senior citizens can't afford to stay in their homes. This is why young people can't afford to buy a house. This is why people feel as though government is working against them more than for them. Because the people that really control this country just look at this as a private equity investment. It's a Tammany Hall 2.0. You have George Soros on the Democrat side, and now you have people on the Republican side. And what we have right now is more of a uniparty than a party of the people. And until and unless the American people are willing to wake up and understand this, and it's going to be exposed, until that point, we're going to continue to spiral down where people are going to continue to lose their freedoms and lose their rights. Let's look at COVID-19. Does anybody remember COVID-19 where they said, shut up, obey? Well, I will not shut up and obey. COVID-19 fired me up to say there is a fine line between freedom. And that fine line, which we are fighting to hold that line very much so with our own money and our grassroots endorsements. And I'm proud to be endorsed by over 100 grassroots people. But I don't have the support of the establishment. So that means if you're smart, ladies and gentlemen, and you're not happy with government, quit drinking the Kool-Aid and quit eating the entrees that government themselves is telling you to eat in order for them to sustain their power and their foothold. It's as simple as the definition of insanity, right? Which is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting for things to change.
Exactly. And so it's common sense to vote for people that are just like us, and through action, through words. And to your point, we do not want to wind up like a place like Ireland where a teacher there, Enoch Burke, he didn't want to use the they pronoun as a teacher. So therefore, the Irish authorities had to come knock on his door because he spoke something that they didn't like. And I hear you loud and clear. And that's why I'm glad to have you on as well, Paul, because you are a man that likes and wants freedom for our country from now until Jesus returns, right?
Yes. And that's the other thing I'm going to be very clear about. There's only one man that I will rubber stamp, and that's the Lord Jesus Christ, our Savior. Okay? That is the only person that has ever walked this earth that is perfect. And we have got to elect leaders that are going to be following that example and work for the people. My job is to represent the people in Congressional District 32. How can anybody say that they're going to represent the people in Congressional District 32 when they can't even vote for themselves and don't even live in the district? And they have to take a helicopter ride just to get in it. The amount of hotel bills for the Yarborough campaign must be staggering. It must be staggering. Anybody that's going to vote for somebody that lives that far out of the district, that's being backed by deep state dark money. And here's the thing, we're ahead in the polls now. He's had a 9-point swing in the last week. His campaign is taking on water. And people, the word is getting out because people, they want a reliable representative that's going to be of the people, by the people, and for the people, not a deep state plant. And so I am exposing this, and with the help of good media sources like yourself, we understand that unless this is all noise and it's just rhetoric on all sides, unless that's the case, we all need to band together right now, because this is bigger than just one congressional district race. This is not just about me winning in CD 32. This is about unmasking and exposing a deep state plot to be able to push Coke or Pepsi so that we're either way, they're going to have cola elected into these positions. And they do it by having crappy consultants that act as gatekeepers to tank campaigns. And in addition to that, they do it by being able to put dark money behind candidates who they want to ram through, gobble up the endorsements, put a pretty wrapper on them and say, this is our guy. So it's a really attractive cupcake with a bunch of poison inside. And that's what they're feeding the American people.
I hear you loud and clear. And just the other day, I was looking at one of the progressive websites at the career opportunities just to see, like kind of dive into it. And one of the campaign leadership positions, the salary is $97,000. $97,000 for one of these progressive action type of committees out there on the left. And I thought to myself, where is that almost $100,000 coming from, really, though? And it's a good point that you're making about campaign finance reform, the dark money, George Soros, all the things. And that's just one topic that you're running on. I think the most important is freedom, of course, but that's all kind of ties in together, doesn't it?
We can't have freedom until we have fair and free elections. And as terrible as the ballot drop boxes are in blue cities, and anybody that is behind or suggesting that we should maintain unsecured ballot drop boxes, they're a complete moron and a fake and a fraud. If you think that the sanctity of our voting, and you can make, anybody tries to make an argument that having unattended drop boxes in these cities in the past is good governance, you're a fool, and by that argument, you should be stripped of any kind of ability to represent anyone based on that ridiculous notion. Now we're talking about also voter ID. I want to, as a taxpayer who pays a lot of money in this country, and I've employed a lot of people and done a lot of good, when I go to the airport and I just want to fly in a domestic flight, I have to not only provide my ticket, which has to all be checked, and they check where you're going to go. I have to not only provide my real ID, they now also take a facial recognition picture of my face. Yet, when we're going to vote and we want to have the sanctity of voting, there's idiots out there that say that we shouldn't be voting for people and have a requirement to know who's voting. There's people that are arguing that we shouldn't have border control and know who's in our country, yet we want to have the great surveillance of the American people. People, this is just insulting. These people are either the dumbest morons running things, or they're lying to us. And I'm going to go with the latter. I don't think that they're dumb. I think that it's an insidious faction of deep state plants that are trying to strip our liberty and freedom away, and they're successfully doing it by taking one bite out of the apple after the next. And until somebody stands up and has a spine and is willing to confront these people, they are going to succeed.
There are many people that are saying amen right now and agree with you 100%, and I am one of them. I have the freedom to say that. Paul Bondar, running for Congress in Texas, District 32. Thank you again, Paul, for what you're doing for the country. We salute you, and best of luck in your race. Also, keep us posted on your campaign this year as you get ready for those midterms coming up in November.
Well, right now we are in early voting. Our numbers, we just had a 14-point swing from the poll from one Friday to the next because this message is resonating with people. People, if you want a bought and paid for puppet, just keep doing what you're doing. But again, this is a playbook that is going across all of America. And I already know I'm not going to be a very popular guy in DC, but you know who I want to be popular with? The people that need representation, that are tired of the shams and the scams and are getting hurt. And as a guy that grew up with very little money, who built a business, I know what it's like to remember back and have to say, hey, I need somebody to fight for me. I've been right my whole life with business decisions. It's time somebody's right for the American people and the good folks at Texas 32. So I appreciate anybody's vote, but more importantly, I appreciate people's support to get this message out, or else we can just chalk up and forget it, because if we're not going to fight now to oppose this, then this whole thing is a facade. This is our opportunity right now to make this into a national message.
Paul Bondar, running for Congress in Texas. Thank you again for joining us.
God bless everybody.
God bless you, sir. All right, so we started out the show in Iowa, then we went to Texas, people that are running for Congress out there. Also looking forward to having Silk join us a little bit later. She's not running for office, but it's always good to hear Silk sound off, especially about the State of the Union address from yesterday and how the Democrats just sat on their hands when they should have been clapping them instead. All right, we have a couple of sponsors we're going to get to. We have a lot to get to over the next couple hours. Let's go to angelpaste.com out of Spring, Texas, of course. If you'd like to purchase a gift, or if you are looking for some skincare products, this is the place to go, angelpaste.com. Use the RSBN promo code. Always goes a long way with angelpaste.com. Also, a lot of different choices there as you peruse the site. So check it out, angelpaste.com, hiring military veterans and great patriots, and a great sponsor here at Right Side. Also, Rumble Wallet. You may have seen the conversations happening online lately. Censorship, unfortunately, is back, and it's happening everywhere. Platforms are controlling narratives and pushing the stuff they want us to see. So we need to fight back in the information area and in the financial area. Rumble is the only company that has really stood the test of time and deserves our support. So on one side, Rumble is challenging big tech censorship, but now on the other side, they have introduced something that will give us protection from the big banks shutting us off. So most of you probably know that banks can cancel our accounts and freeze our cards. So that's why Rumble has launched Rumble Wallet. It's a wallet that no one can cancel, and a wallet that supporters can use to instantly tip creators like us and others without any middleman taking the cuts. With Rumble Wallet, you control your money, not a bank, not a government, not a tech company, not even Rumble can touch it. So it's yours, and it's yours only. It's yours to protect your future and family. So you can buy and save digital assets like Bitcoin and Tether Gold in one place. Tether Gold is that real gold on the blockchain with ownership of physical gold bars. So it's not only a wallet to buy and save, but it also allows you to support your favorite creators by easily tipping them with the click of a button. There will be no fees when you tip our channel or others, and we actually receive the tip instantly, unlike other platforms where we have to wait for payouts. So you can support our show and other creators, of course, by clicking the tip button on our Rumble channel. It's wallet.com. wallet.rumble.com. Download Rumble Wallet today, open an account, and step away from the big banks for good. Wallet.rumble.com or search Rumble Wallet in the app stores. Great to see something like this where nobody can really have control of your private information and your financial information. So Rumble Wallet, great sponsor here. At Right Side, it is the bottom of the hour. Looking live at the White House, I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks again for live streaming in. Quite the viewership numbers yesterday on all of our platforms, including Rumble, YouTube, X, our app, wherever you watch, whether it's Roku, all the things. So thank you so much for streaming in for that speech last night. We're going to go over some of the speech in just a minute. And we're also going to return to the White House for an event that happened on Monday regarding the Angel Families event there. And, you know, we know here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, we've been covering the southern border at length since day one of President Trump's second term. I've been showing videos of the southern border, the wall, the military being down there. We saw what it was like under Biden. We see what it's like under President Trump. And we know that that is one thing right there that President Trump and the team took care of right away. So there's a list of names, though, that are not going to be easy to read because these are the names of people, American citizens, killed by criminal illegal aliens. So we're going to go over some of those names here, and then we're going to return to that video from the White House as we get ready to air some of the names on the side of the screen as it's 2:32 Eastern time. It's kind of a slow scroll of various people, but it's a sad time when you look at this situation in our country. And you remember, as the names go on the side of the screen there, all of the people that would come against ICE. You remember, ICE wasn't out there just trying to randomly do things that were out of the law. We know that there were situations that occurred, very, very difficult situations. But well, you know this, overall what we're looking at is law and order in our country. And in Minnesota, that was tough to see what happened there. But we know that if all of us decided, let's go fly to a different country and let's go vote in their elections, let's go, protest or commit crimes, that won't fly in most other countries. Well, it's the same thing here in America. If you have a bunch of people being flown in, which we did, remember under the Biden administration, I actually saw some of this happen in Chicago. I was flying to Iowa with a stop in Chicago, went to Terminal 1, if you recall. A number of the people that were there were illegal aliens being flown in from the southern border. So obviously the mass deportations need to continue. We're seeing it still happen. But the names that we're seeing right there on your screen are not with us anymore. The people are not with us anymore because of criminal illegal aliens. So anybody that is against ICE or mass deportations, you think about it, Again, how would this fly in other countries? Can we just, let's take a plane, let's just fly over there. Let's not take a passport, no visa, no paperwork. We're just going to land in some country, let's say Italy, and go in and cause problems, criminal acts, whether it's voting fraud, whether it's, not even using a voter ID, or any kind of other crimes out there, assaults, rapes, murder, all those terrible crimes. And we can see the list still going. This is on the White House's page of people that have lost their lives at the hands of criminal illegal aliens. No wonder President Trump and the team, as soon as they started back in January 20th of 2025, closing the border, the military down there, and now it's getting the people that crossed over when Biden was in office, getting them out of here. And when I say them, it could be people from all walks of life. It doesn't matter about skin color or where somebody's from. Again, all of us, say there were white, black, Asian, Hispanic, Indian, Arab, whatever. If we all flew, all of us flew, say we went to New York and flew over to another country, it's just not going to fly. It's illegal. You have to have paperwork. You can't just go there. And so that's what I don't understand with the Democrats. They just don't get it. All right, let's go to a video from Monday. This is an Angel Families event that took place. Let's take a look.
We're gathered here today for a truly solemn occasion. Throughout this hall, I am joined by heartbroken Americans who have lost parents, siblings, children, grandchildren, and treasured loved ones to the scourge of illegal immigration.
I lost my 19-year-old son, Brady Heiling, and his girlfriend of 3 years, Hallie Helgeson.
Our youngest son, Joshua, was brutally beaten, strangled, tortured, and then his body was set on fire by an illegal alien.
The two illegals that killed my son and shot my husband and shot at the rest of the family, including children, had numerous amounts of priors.
I'm sick and tired of hearing these Democratic politicians stand up on these podiums and say how sorry they are for seeing these criminal illegal aliens being ripped apart from their families. What about us? What about the American family?
Jesus works on my family every day, still healing us today. And I am just so incredibly grateful for the man who's in office, who never quits.
Our lives are torn apart, and this feels a little bit more comforting, being here at the White House and being able to be with Trump and his staff.
Americans like Laken and Grant and Javier, Joshua, Rocky, Rachel, Kayla, these are great people, and we're never going to forget them. I'll never forget them.
And many of you saw that event right here live on Right Side Broadcasting Network. And a lot of people yesterday, again, the Democrats just, sitting down, not standing, not honoring anybody, not clapping. It reminds me of one of the other State of the Union addresses when they also did the same thing when it came to a lot of very real stories for people, and they just sat there. But, it's kind of, what do you expect at this point? When you have a woke mind virus, you're totally brainwashed. You're either brainwashed or you're downright evil, or both. That's really what it comes down to. And most of you probably that are watching right now, we're on the right side of history. We simply love God, family, country. We want our freedoms, all the things, truth, justice, the American way. And the other side doesn't really want that. And speaking of all of this, President Trump spoke about Charlie Kirk yesterday, the late, great Charlie Kirk, honoring him and saying hello to Erica Kirk in the gallery at the House chamber there, and toning down the political hate of, not hate speech, but just the rhetoric, right, of all the things of, actually there's some that crosses over and there's actually threats, right? That's what President Trump was talking about, just calm all that rhetoric down. Let's go to that clip from yesterday at the State of the Union address, clip 4, where President Trump honored the late, great Charlie Kirk.
This is especially true among young people, and a big part of that had to do with my great friend, Charlie Kirk, a great guy, great man. So last year, Charlie was violently murdered by an assassin and martyred, really martyred for his beliefs. His wonderful wife, Erica, is with us tonight. Erica, please stand. Thank you, Erica. Been through a lot. In Charlie's memory, we must all come together to reaffirm that America is one nation under God, and we must totally reject political violence of any kind.
So, of course, just yesterday at the State of the Union address there, as President Trump spoke for that record 1 hour, 49 minutes, of course, remembering the late, great Charlie Kirk. And as you guys remember, every time I really talk about Charlie, it's about that September 21st event as well, the memorial for his life. And I'm sure he would have been very happy with how that went when it comes to everyone praising God, praising Jesus. And it was a powerful time as the Holy Spirit moved amongst the people there. And if you don't remember what I'm saying, there were millions and millions of people that watched that memorial September 21st of 2025. I could remember being live in our other studio, Studio B, and it was when Tucker Carlson was just wrapping up his speech, and it came back to studio for just a couple minutes, and it was a very, very powerful moment. And the thing that's great about God is He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. So we don't have to live just in the past of moments. We know that there's times we're refreshing, you know what I mean, with God. So you just got to pray. All right, let's do this. If you'd like to donate to Right Side Broadcasting Network, all you have to do is text a number of things here. I guess we're going just to rsbnetwork.com/donate. rsbnetwork.com/donate. Of course, as we grow, as we expand here at the network, as we have our new digs here in Studio A and all of the lights, cameras, all of the things, especially when we travel to various events. You saw Robert McNeely in Clive, Iowa just the other day, all the airlines, the hotels, all the things. We have no woke corporations funding us gladly. But hey, if you'd like to donate, go ahead. We have some great sponsors and some great people that give money here. So rsbnetwork.com/donate. Also, some great sponsors, including mypillow.com/RSBN. You see there the mattress and topper sale, $99.99. Use the promo code RSBN for that discount. A lot of great products, as you guys know, on there. More than 2,000 to choose from. My family and I, we have a number of them. There's a few that we want to get more of, like the Giza Dream Sheets or the slippers, you know, that kind of stuff. How about my coffee? mypillow.com/RSBN. All right, it's 2:42, Wednesday, February 25th. Before we go to our next interview, let's take a quick commercial break. Matthew Alvarez. We'll be right back here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
super breaking news right at this second. If there is any news like that, we'll be sure to bring that to you as we continue to monitor various stories. We'll go over some of those stories that we're looking at in just a second. In the meantime, let's go to an interview with Ann Vandersteel, the great patriot, Ann Vandersteel. And joining us now on Right Side Broadcasting Network is information war correspondent Ann Vandersteel. Ann, thanks again for joining us on Right Side.
Yeah, great to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Let's talk about one thing. Your title, Information War Correspondent, is perfect because it's exactly what we deal with every day. It's an information war, and we know it. Can you explain?
Well, frankly, it's very simple when you look at it. And General Flynn wrote a brilliant book on it with Boone Cutler, Fifth Generation Warfare. Information war is such a key critical component to destabilizing your enemy and your enemy to destabilizing ourselves. You know, even the good guys on our team are going to send out disinformation and misinformation specifically because they want the enemy to not know where we're coming from. And right now, what we're seeing, you know, and this is classic, we're seeing Washington, D.C., literally turning around and doing a 180 on some of the campaign promises across the board, whether you're talking about endless wars or you're talking about, you know, really restoring the republic and allowing the states to stand up. But the states right now are being told, if you don't do it, it's not going to get done. And so information war is about making sure that whoever is trying to get from point A to point B can't get there because they're distracted, whether it's what's happening in the border in Texas, whether it's what's going on in Iran, whether it's the Epstein files. We just saw yet another arrest today, Peter Mendelsohn, right? It's constant information being shoved at you, and it's not allowing us to really focus on what we need to do, which is restore this republic and get out of this massive corporate bureaucracy that is strangling us from Washington, D.C. So, you know, I'm here about like exercising the 10th Amendment on a regular basis, which is why I'm focusing on really interviewing governors that I think would make great governors, because the states have got to stand up. We've got to stop listening to what's coming out of D.C. because it's frankly has nothing to do with supporting our Constitution. Americans are being clobbered by statutory rape, as I call it, as opposed to frankly getting the support we need. So this information war, you know, whether it's Kash Patel, you know, chugging beers in the hockey match and all the information that's coming on around that, is that really going to advance our ball down the field to score a goal here and restore the republic? No, it's massive distraction. And the left and the bad guys want us distracted and being outraged constantly because they don't want to see us complete the mission, which is frankly destroy the bureaucracy and restore the republic. So this is where I sit on a regular basis, and it's frustrating. But at the same token, you know, if I didn't have all the disinformation, I guess I wouldn't have a job.
Yeah, I mean, reporting truth is very popular right now because that's what people are flocking to. Because of social media and live stream broadcasts and social media are crushing local news, the cable news out there, the traditional legacy outlets. Millions more people on social media and live stream broadcasting. Isn't that awesome to be even having this opportunity to have that kind of platform?
It's fantastic. I haven't watched Fox News since 2012. I turned it off because I recognized quickly it was nothing more than a way to keep us in a box and to keep us depressed and to feel hopeless. And the fact that we all have cell phones, every single one of us is an information war correspondent and can report what we see with our own eyes. Now, granted, truth is and it should be in air quotes, because a lot of times we see what people claim to be truth. It's literally nothing more than fiction made up and packaged in very salacious language to create a viral reel to make you believe something is happening, whatever it is, when in fact it's the furthest thing from the actual factual truth. So you have to be very selective, and you've got to be careful with who you follow. I think you should look at all news. I think you should pay attention to what the fake news is saying, because you can almost bet 180 degrees it's the exact opposite. So, or it's being twisted in such a way that it's making you believe it's not at all what in fact is happening. So it does take, I believe, Matt, it takes a lot of discernment. And if you trust that your leadership that you've elected is got the same motivation as you do to restore your republic, to get government off your back, and you start looking at everything through that lens, when that lens and that paradigm from which you're looking through is not working out, then you recognize what the problem is, but you have to constantly be very solid in your lens. And my lens is crystal clear. It's, ride or die, baby, with the Constitution and restoring this right here. And the minute I see us going off the mark with executive orders that encroach my, my right to make choices, like the recent one on glyphosate, that has everybody very upset, and it should, because that's an infringement on my right to make a choice. And I should be able to stand up and force my state to stand up and say, no, we don't want that. But now they're telling us we can't. And frankly, I think that'll be challenged in the Supreme Court. I don't think that's a constitutional executive order.
Exactly. So our constitutional rights, to keep it simple, that's what it's about, the common sense stuff that's out there. Right. And that's what the media's job is, to just confuse and just try and say, no, this is the way. And we all know the way is actually much simpler. The truth of common sense and God, family, country, the Constitution. Here are a few stories that I've been tracking. We're monitoring the latest, of course, on the Epstein files. We've been monitoring the latest on the Save America Act in the Senate, and also the quote-unquote armada that's out there near Iran. Those are three big stories that we've been tracking, I've been tracking. Let's just go through those really quickly. First, your thoughts about Iran right now. Is that something that you would like to see happen? They take out, surgically strike the Islamic Republic there, or are you more kind of thinking America first? Let's just look at our country. What's your thought?
Well, of course, I stand with America first, and that we have, we had a press release from the White House that said the nuclear facilities were taken offline. There's no more threat. But now we're hearing again that it's within 1 week they're going to have enough uranium to manufacture a nuclear bomb. I mean, that narrative has been used for 40 years. It's old. It doesn't work anymore. Now we're looking at this. Are we engaging in regime change? Granted, the mullahs are ruthless. They're tyrannical. They were installed, frankly, by our own CIA after we ripped out the last guy we put in there. So, these poor people of Iran who are very sophisticated have been thrown back into the dark ages. Of course, they want to be liberated. Frankly, is it up to us? Well, partly yes, because we installed the regime they have now. We've let it run amok, and this regime has been constantly weaponized to create the military-industrial complex profits that you see over the last 30, 40 years. But do Americans really want to engage in this? No, they don't. We're done. We've given so much money overseas. So are we going to wrap up into a World War III over there? Well, I mean, if you have one bad guy, yeah, you could have a tinderbox. Do I think it's going to really happen? I don't think we're going to have World War III over this. I truly hope we don't go dropping off bombs, and I hope Israel is prevented from even using small, suitcase type nuclear bombs. I don't think any of that's necessary. President Trump has established the Board of Peace. Let's exercise that. Let's see if between that and the Abraham Accords, we can't come to some sort of détente in peace. But then let's recognize, frankly, that this is really always going back to the City of London, who are the bankers who have been using Israel, the government that is, and frankly, the people have been unwitting participants, but they've been using Israel and the threats of anti-Semitism to get the United States to engage in whatever it is they need to drive their own profit margins, because their banks are bankrupt. They need to collateralize what they don't have. So this is a continuation of what we now know to be the end of a life cycle of a financial system, and they're using war, as they always do, to restock the coffers.
Back here stateside, your thoughts about the Save America Act, and then we'll jump to the Epstein files.
Sure. Save America, unless we do away with a filibuster, we don't have the votes right now, and I feel like it's dead in the water, sadly. I'd like to see it pass. But again, I spent a couple of days in D.C. General Flynn had an incredible election integrity event Thursday last week, had people from the administration there, some really brilliant people on election integrity, everything from voter rolls to machines, ballot boxes, all the stuff. How do we solve those problems? Well, they've solved the problem. It's just whether or not the White House will now declare a national emergency and write an executive order to outlaw these machines, at least through this election cycle, so we can get real elections and we can get real people into government that will perhaps really try to save America. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do.
Exactly. That's what we want to see be done here in this country. Keep our constitutional rights, keep the freedom. It's all the common sense stuff out there. Also, some of the details that people are talking about out there when it comes to the Epstein files and the connections of satanic occults, sacrificing of children. I mean, this is all something that years ago, if you'd hear it, you'd be like, oh, that can't be happening. But now we're seeing a lot of receipts and evidence, aren't we?
We're seeing a lot of receipts and evidence, Matt, and frankly, myself, Liz Crokin, and several other people back in 2017 were talking about this, and we were called conspiracy theorists. We were slammed. We were, tossed off social media. We had all kinds of crazy social media influencers online threatening us, attacking us, smearing us, defaming us. I had the Daily Beast and Right Wing Watch literally had a reporter from each publication dedicated to me to publish every single day for like 2 years. It was insane. So this is what we've been challenged with. We don't really care anymore. We're like glad the rest of the world is catching on. But here's the thing. What are we going to do about it? I'm thrilled to see Prince Andrew rounded up. Peter Mandelson rounded up. We need to round up a lot more people, but it's happening over there and not over here. And while we're over here, we're sending our troops over there to engage in war. But let's get some accountability here. Why is it we're always holding anybody else around the world accountable before we hold our own self accountable? And they say government will never arrest itself. But we, the people, voted for this administration to do exactly that, to clean it up and bring accountability, because the receipts are in. And while the pedophilia is absolutely horrific, there's so much more in there on the financial crime side and other things that need to be accounted for, and people need to be arrested. So I'm hopeful that we're going to see it, but I'm frankly not expecting it at this point.
President Trump said at a CPAC speech a few years back that he would dismantle the deep state and obliterate the globalists. Well, that's what we want to see as we the people. I mean, this is just freedom of speech, freedom of the press to say that, not afraid to say that because President Trump said that. So to your point, that's what we want to see here in this country and around the world when it comes to these great horrific crimes that we've been seeing with the evidence and the receipts on it. So where can people follow you online?
You can find me on X at Ann Vandersteel or on my website, annvandersteel.com.
Awesome. Information War correspondent Ann Vandersteel. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you, Matt.
All right, Ann Vandersteel joining us recently. Also, we're going to get to some more clips from the State of the Union address, of course, from last night, especially the part of the USA hockey team. Now, 2:56 p.m. Eastern time. We started at 2 o'clock. We started out with a number of clips, of course, from the State of the Union. We've had a number of interviews since then. So if you're just slowly joining us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network here in this afternoon broadcast, if you could go ahead and scrub back or replay some of it if you'd like, as we continue to cover everything when it comes to inside the beltway of that city right there, our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and also outside of that 495, 395 beltway out there in the country and in some cases across the globe. As we know, President Trump will be traveling to China to meet with the president there, Xi Jinping, coming up, I believe, in the springtime. So once those dates are specific, we'll be able to share those with you. In the meantime, let's go to a few of our sponsors before we move on. Quick question for you. When was the last time you actually restocked your medicine cabinet? Most people, unfortunately, wait until someone gets sick. Then they're scrambling, calling the doctor, waiting on appointments. And, it's hoping that the pharmacy simply has what they need. You should have what you need, of course, at home. And if you already know All Family Pharmacy, you know there's a better way. When you go to allfamilypharmacy.com, you can stock up in advance on essentials like antibiotics, antivirals, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, NAD+, Tamiflu, mebendazole, and also there's more than 300 prescription medications available. Everything reviewed and prescribed safely by their licensed doctors and shipped straight to your door. So you can be prepared before you need it. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN10 promo code to save 10% on the essentials you want to keep in your medicine cabinet. Great sponsor, great company right there, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Also, Birch Gold, international disputes and inflation, rising national debt, digital currency. There is unfortunately a never-ending list of reasons gold has risen over 700% in the last 20 years. And a never-ending list of reasons smart Americans diversify a portion of their savings into precious metals with Birch Gold Group. More than any other commodity on earth, gold thrives during uncertainty, which is why it's a crucial part of a balanced strategy. It gives you peace of mind given all the events that could impact the U.S. economy. So see if holding gold as a tax-sheltered retirement account is right for you as well. Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or a 401k into an IRA in gold. All you have to do is just text the word there as you see, Trump, to the number 989898 to receive your free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, just useful information there. They have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers. So you can let Birch Gold help you diversify with gold so you too can have that peace of mind regardless the uncertainty. Text Trump to 989898. Again, it's Trump to 989898. You can do it today. All right, it is close to the top of the hour. We're about a minute out. Speaking of gold, as many know, the USA men's hockey team was in attendance last night at the State of the Union. Here's a clip from when they arrived in Washington just yesterday. All right, and a shout out to the women's hockey team as well. Both teams, the men's and women's hockey teams, winning gold in overtime against Canada. Pretty cool stuff. We saw the team there at the State of the Union just yesterday. Let's go now to a recent interview with the San Diego County Supervisor Jim Desmond. This interview conducted by RSBN host Robert McNeely.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. Jim Desmond, San Diego County Supervisor, and of course candidate for Congress in the 49th District from the Golden State. Jim, thank you so much for joining us. A nonprofit executive spending money on fentanyl prevention, but it goes to Disneyland, Hawaiian vacations. Where does the fraud stop in the great state of California?
This is ridiculous, and unfortunately that happened right here in San Diego County under our noses, and the board of supervisors that I sit on was not made aware, and we not only awarded one contract to this entity, but we awarded a second contract after county staff or if somebody or people in the county administration had found out and had done an audit against this group, and this is Harm Reduction SD, San Diego, and they were primarily supposed to hand out this money to prevent fentanyl deaths and giving out Narcan. And unfortunately, the COO, the Chief Operating Officer, was spending it on the lavish vacations and personal tummy tucks and facelifts and those types of things. And Narcan was not getting to people who needed it. And so our county staff actually did an audit on this entity. And in the audit, they found out a whole bunch of red flags. And they also found out this individual had absconded with over $500,000 at a previous entity and actually did time in jail. And a check wasn't done on this entity prior to us giving them the first award, and then we gave them a second.
Nothing short of extraordinary. Is there any legal ramification for this clear abuse of taxpayer funds?
Well, absolutely. And thank goodness our district attorney, Summer Stephan, has done a great job, and she's pressing charges against this person who did this. But to me, it's, the county has egg on their face, the fact that we awarded not one but two contracts, $5 million worth, I think, in the first, and I forget what the exact number was, but it was millions again, after we found out that this person was absconding with this money and using it for other purposes. And it was hidden from the board, myself. I'm not a fan of these harm reduction programs, which is basically giving needles, giving out, tinfoil and pipes and things like that for drug abuse. I've voted against this just about every time this has come through. I think this is harming people, not really helping them. And some of the cities in the district where I represent didn't want this coming to them either. And then we come to find out there's fraud and abuse within the program, and it's hurting the program, and the people aren't getting the Narcan that they need.
I would go as far to say that some of these programs, especially up and down our Pacific coast, are actually forms of assisted suicide. And it's always given in the sense of we're going to help the individual, but then they remain hooked. You have needles on playgrounds. You have needles in public places where taxpayers are funding these areas. So it's absolutely atrocious. Give us the outline of the San Diego County protocol to perhaps prevent this from happening in the future.
Well, that's what I'm looking into, and what I'm asking our chief administrative officer to come forward with and let us know what are the programs, what are our fraud prevention systems that are in place now, and how is it working? And it's not in this particular case. So I'm asking the county staff to come forward and say, okay, what are our programs? How do we prevent this from ever happening again, and make sure this just doesn't happen? This is ridiculous, and this looks bad for the county of San Diego. And I'm embarrassed and feel bad about it just because it came across our desks and it was voted on, and we were not made aware of the audit that was done and the red flags that came up. And this is just like the hospice programs in Los Angeles, where millions of dollars are going towards thousands and thousands of hospices that have sprung up in Los Angeles County. They had one building up there in LA with over 112 hospices located in there that were actually applying for money and getting money. This, unfortunately, is state of California going through. We're already broke. The state is broke, and it's just the only answer is more and more and more taxes. But then we see dollars, $24 billion spent on homelessness and not making it, a dent. So we've got these NGOs, non-governmental organizations, we need to rein them in. We need to know how these dollars are being spent and not have the fraud and abuse that's taken place.
Now, Minnesota is a much different story, but we know from the Leering Center and some independent journalists, Nick Shirley specifically, finding $19 billion in fraud that we know of thus far. Do we have a number in California when it comes to the fraud, waste, and abuse?
I know in homelessness, there was like 24 billion that was spent on homelessness. How much was fraud, waste, and abuse? We don't know because we're not tracking it. The same thing coming up with the hospice providers. The money gets given out and then we're not properly tracking it. Even the state auditor has admitted we don't know where these dollars are spent. It's in the billions of dollars. I wish I had a number for you, but I don't. But it's billions of dollars, and it's meant for, it's got good purposes behind it, and people are trying to do the right things, but we got to keep track of the money and the dollars and make sure it's not abused. And unfortunately, as we've seen in California and Minnesota, I'm sure other states throughout the country, that this has really been an issue. Even during COVID, when we were giving out one-time dollars for COVID to pay people that were out of work, and through the employment department, we were paying out billions of dollars, and there was about 20% of that was fraud and abuse. So we got to get a better handle on how we're spending the taxpayer dollars here, not only in California, but throughout the country.
And what's interesting about this, Jim, right, left, or center, it seems as if it's harming taxpayers more than anyone else, as we see with this other program about buying homes in California called the Dream for All Project, but it excludes you if your parents have owned a home. Here's the problem. California being one of the most expensive places to own a home, especially in San Diego County. So break us down with this program and how this is working. Was this coming directly from San Diego, or is this statewide throughout California?
This is statewide throughout California, and this is $300 million, which is kind of a drop in the bucket for the entire state. But it's a lottery system. It actually starts tomorrow and goes, I think, until March 16th. So a little less than a month for you to sign up for this Dream for All program. It's supposed to help first-time home buyers. And unfortunately, they put in such restrictions that primarily only if your parents have never owned a home in California do you qualify. So if it's a couple or even an individual applying, you have to have had your parents never had a home, or even if they had one and they sold it, you're out. And you also have to be a resident of California, not a citizen of the state or country. You're a resident in California. And to me, that discriminates in anybody. You're being punished if your parents went and bought a house. You don't qualify. So primarily who this is targeted at is people that are here illegally and people that whose parents have never owned a home. Because most Californians, your parents have owned a home at one point, at one time or another. And so to me, this is really discriminating against, your parents doing something. It's like you being charged or you can't do something because somebody in your family did it. Well, that sounds like North Korea to me, not California or the United States of America. So this is a program that, it's a lottery system. The cost of housing in California is like about 45% of the cost of a house is due to government regulations. We've overregulated. We've allowed, too many lawsuits to go against housing projects, and just housing hasn't been able to be built in California. And you've seen the fires that we are not able to mitigate, for the fires and the fuel that are surrounding these housing projects, and they're burning to the ground, only raising more and more the cost of housing. So this is a Band-Aid put on by Sacramento for this dream for all that is not for all. You're only qualified if your parents have never owned a home, which is ridiculous to me and, quite frankly, discriminatory.
Is there anything that can be done at the federal level to help California, or does it have to be fixed from within?
I think in these types of instances, particularly with housing, I think it needs to be fixed from within. However, I do think, if I do get a seat in Congress and able to be part of the congressional group, I would love to do that. And if there's ways we can help, we have to be able to help first-time home buyers. I mean, that's just a bigger issue. They're being shut out of particularly in California, of even owning a home or having the prospect of owning a home. My kids are both in their 30s, and most of their friends do not have a home, or they have moved away to some other state. And this is why people like Mondami get elected in New York, because they promise everything to a younger generation: free food, free groceries, free transit, free everything. And they're attracted to that because that's like their only hope. Here in California, their only hope is to leave. And that's, or unless your parents are rich and can help you out. But that's, what we absolutely have to have some type of programs to allow first-time home buyers, help first-time home buyers, and actually help seniors sell their homes as well. Right now, most seniors stay in their homes because they do not want to move. They don't want to pay the extra taxes. They don't want to pay the capital gains taxes on their homes, and that's actually a federal capital gains tax. So one thing would be to do, and I've seen this approached a couple of times, and I've heard the president say it, but it hasn't been enacted yet, is to get rid of the capital gains tax. If you sell your house, you should be able to, you put your blood, sweat, and tears and paid off your mortgage and did all that. Why is the government taking a big chunk of your profits off of your house? You should be able to keep that and go buy another house instead of paying a big chunk of capital gains tax to the federal government or to even the state governments that collect those. So I'd like to see us reduce or get rid of those capital gains taxes. And instead of taxing people, which seems to be the answer for everything in California, we need more taxes. Let's relieve people of taxes and put the money back in their own pockets, which will go back into the economy, but let the people spend it instead of the government.
Now, not to get ahead of you as well, which sounds like an excellent plan, Jim, but is that part of your congressional platform in addition to supporting common sense legislation like the Save America Act?
Well, absolutely. I mean, the American dream. We have to replenish or get that back again, because we've lost it, particularly for this younger and next generation. So absolutely, that the American dream. We also need to fix our immigration system. I mean, hallelujah, the president shut down the borders, but now we need an immigration system that works, that allows people to come back and forth. If we need people to work in jobs and they're willing to come across the border, and let them come back and forth and let them have that opportunity. We've had that in the past. We need to revitalize an immigration program that works so people don't have to sneak under a fence or over a fence to come in here legally. We need to have that. Mental health is also a big issue in California. We do not have the mental health services that we need. We need to get people, we still have thousands, hundreds of thousands of people throughout the state still homeless. And mostly it's due to mental health. And they cope with life with drugs and alcohol. We don't have the mental health facilities. Gavin Newsom let most of the people out of jail, the nonviolent criminals, and they just left them on the street, unfortunately, to die. And also energy is another issue I'm looking into, particularly out here in California, where they're trying to shut down the nuclear plants. We should be able to reuse that nuclear fuel and continue to use nuclear energy. If we can lower the cost of energy, that lowers the cost of everything. And I think that's what most Americans are feeling is a high cost of everything right now. Let's get our energy prices down, and that'll help alleviate a lot of the pain throughout the country.
And that definitely relates to EPA regulations. I'd like your thoughts on the latest reduction and ridding the federal government of that mandate from the Obama era, where you have to turn off and start the engine back and forth, back and forth. I'm so sick of my wonderful Hyundai that has to deal with that. So I'm looking forward to my next car. But I'm curious on your thoughts there and what's going on in California regarding that. And also the Tijuana sewage issue, which you've been on many times about that. Just some updates on that with Administrator Lee Zeldin.
Well, first of all, as far as, the technology, we have to embrace technology to save us. I mean, technology is what we used to have in California, smog days. We used to have smog days in the 80s time frame, warning people not to go out. Well, we got double the amount of cars here now out on the roads than we had then. And now technology we took the lead out of the fuel. We got you get better and better engines. And now, with the more and more electric vehicles. So I want to embrace technology, particularly even on energy and things like that. And 50 years ago, technology was, a lot less, particularly on these nuclear power plants. We can make them smaller, we can make them better, and go in that direction. And I forgot what your next question was.
Yes, with the and very important topic as well, the Tijuana sewage issue that was affecting our Navy SEALs.
Yeah. Can't believe I forgot that. One of the things we have to do, we absolutely have to do, is put pressure on Mexico to stop sending our sewage here. I mean, we're spending millions and hundreds of millions of dollars on a treatment plant on our side of the border to treat Mexican sewage. At the same time, the Tijuana River, which comes out of Tijuana, it is still bypassing that treatment plant and polluting our waterways where the seals and things can't train. So luckily, Lee Zeldin, head of the EPA, and we got the president's attention also on this, has come up with a memorandum of understanding, an MOU between the United States and Mexico, with timelines now for them to build their infrastructure, for Mexico to build its infrastructure. What's missing, in my opinion, is any consequences if they don't. I mean, this has been going on, I found out, for 80 years. The first agreement was in 1944. This is to have sewage stop coming across the border from Tijuana and actually El Paso and other places along the border, to stop that. And so, but we've never really made it Mexico's problem. We have to have consequences of tariffs. We have to have consequences of sanctions or border closings or something, so that we make it Mexico's problem, because right now it's not. They flush it and we end up with it. And so I'm happy that Mr. Zeldin and the EPA has made an agreement with Mexico with timelines. But what I want to make sure, particularly if I get into Congress, is to make sure Mexico lives up to those guidelines, because unfortunately it's been mañana and no more. This has got to be fixed. We can't, if what we've been doing is, if your neighbor's throwing garbage in your yard, we've just been buying more trash cans. You got to stop that. We have to stop. What we did is we built a sewage plant on our side, and instead of making them stop sending us their sewage. That's what it's got to be. We got to put the pressure on Mexico for them to live up to their promises. And we no longer have polluted beaches, and our SEALs are able to train in the waters here in San Diego County.
Yes, being a good neighbor is the right way to go, and we're watching what's happening south of the border as well, especially in Puerto Vallarta, as the airport allegedly taken over by cartels, and the federales dealing with all that. But we know there's difficulties south of the border, and this administration is watching it closely. Jim, where can we find your congressional race coming up in the 49th District of California?
Well, it's DesmondForCongress.com. So you can go there and contact me at Jim at DesmondForCongress.com if you got any questions or things like that. Love to. I think we got a great chance of flipping this seat. It's been a very close seat here in California. And I know, unfortunately, we had Gavin Newsom's redistricting that shut out a lot of Republicans and common sense. I want to bring common sense to Washington, D.C. and continue in that effort. And I think we got a good opportunity to win this race. in the midterms.
Thanks be to God, there's still a lot of common sense in San Diego County, and you're leading the way as a San Diego County Supervisor. Jim Desmond, thank you for joining us here on the right side of history.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
All right, so a great interview there by Robert McNeely, joining us live right now here as it's 3:18, Wednesday, February 25th. We have a little bit to get to before the end of the broadcast. If there's any breaking news, developing news, of course, we'll cover it here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Coming up in just a little bit, Silk will join us live via telephone to talk to us about her reaction to President Trump's State of the Union address. And also, I'm sure she has a few choice words for the Democrats who sat down when they probably should have been standing up and clapping. Anyway, we'll have that interview coming up in just a minute. Also, Tim Rivers, a great patriot, a conservative author, will also join us. So we've got a lot to cover here, and we're tracking a lot of stories, of course, in that 24/7 news cycle. Let's go to a few of our sponsors before we move on. Angelpaste.com out of Spring, Texas, of course. All you have to do is go to that website, angelpaste.com, check it all out, skincare products, and also use the RSBN promo code. Always goes a long way when it comes to having a discount for a great product with a great conservative company as well. Angelpaste.com. Use the RSBN promo code. Also, Rumble Wallet is something else that is quite awesome to learn about. You may have seen the conversations happening online lately. Censorship, unfortunately, is back, and it's happening everywhere. Platforms, they control narratives and push the stuff they want us to see. So we need to fight back in that information area and also in our financial area. Rumble is the only company that has stood the test of time and deserves our support. On one side, Rumble is challenging big tech censorship, but now on the other side, they have introduced something that will give us protection from the big banks shutting us off. Banks can cancel our accounts and freeze our cards, so that's why Rumble has launched Rumble Wallet. It's a wallet that no one can cancel and a wallet that supporters can use to instantly tip creators like us and others without the middleman taking cuts. So Rumble Wallet, with that, you can control your money. Not a bank, not a government, not a tech company, not even Rumble can touch it. So it's yours and only yours to protect your future and family. So you can actually buy and save digital assets like Bitcoin and Tether Gold in one place. Tether Gold is real gold on the blockchain with ownership of physical gold bars. So it's not only a wallet to buy and save, but it also allows you to support your favorite creators by easily tipping them with the click of a button. So no fees when you tip our channel or other channels. And we actually receive the tip instantly, unlike other platforms where people have to wait for payouts. Support our show and other creators by clicking the tip button on our Rumble channel, wallet.rumble.com. And you can also download the Rumble wallet today. Open an account and step away from the big banks for good. Check it all out. Just go to wallet.rumble.com or just simply search Rumble Wallet in the various app stores out there. It's 3:21 Eastern Time. Thanks again for joining us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Of course, yesterday, the State of the Union address, 1 hour, 49 minutes. We saw it here live, of course, co-hosting with Robert McNeely here at the desk. And we're going to go back to some more clips from the State of the Union. In the meantime, let's introduce you to Tim Rivers. He's a great patriot, a conservative author. And I'm hearing actually that Silk is actually on the line. So we'll go to Tim right after we speak with Silk. So if we want to line that up, we can flip that over here on the programming and get it going. So again, 3:22, Wednesday, February 25th. Silk is joining us. What is your reaction? First of all, before I get there, how you doing, Silk?
Oh, wow. I'm doing magnificent. I am doing incredibly well. I'm excited. I'm excited for our country. And I'm excited for my president, President Donald J. Trump. And I think that everybody that I've spoken to and have seen online streaming, everybody is excited for America. Let me tell you something, Matt. Last night with President Donald J. Trump at the State of the Union, his address, it was not just a speech. It was actually a demolition because he single-handedly destroyed the Democrat Party in their face. And it was absolutely nothing that they could do about it. He called a spade, and he called crazy, crazy. So I'm doing well, I'm doing great and excited, and I don't know whatever other words I can use to best describe the way I feel right now. It's like amazing. Whatever goes along with amazing and phenomenal is what I'm feeling right now.
So just yesterday, I was talking with my wife about the various coverage that we've done here at the network. And I was talking to her about the rally that you covered with RSBN host Christina Loren. I believe it was in North Carolina, I believe your home state. And I'll tell you what, you are entertaining on television, and on top of that, you spit the truth the way you do, though, because it's not just for entertainment purposes, it's Silk.
Oh, no. It's not for entertainment. A lot of people thought that my sister and I was just caricatures, just acting and just script. No, we're really off script, and it's about the truth. How we feel about the truth, giving our opinion about whatever is going on. This is how it is. That's how it has always been. Even after passing of my sister and the torch being carried over to me, all I can do is just speak my truth, no matter what anybody else says about it, thinks about it, feels about it. All I can do is just speak my truth, and that's what it's all about. It's not about just entertaining somebody, stepping and fetching is what they call it. No. It's about telling the truth, something that's been lacking in this country, open dialogue where people can actually agree to disagree if they're having a disagreement. I don't have a problem with doing that with anybody. I don't care what side of the aisle that you're on.
And then also in interviews, you have said no matter what color, black, white, or polka dot, right?
That's right. I don't care if you're black, white, pinstripe, polka dot, or plaid. I can still have a conversation with you. I can talk about all of it. We can slice it, dice it, flip it up, and rub it down if you want to do that too. I can have a conversation with anybody about any topic, about anything, because it's based off of my own humble opinion about the situation. But unfortunately, I think that's where a lot of people have forgotten about open dialogue and just being able to just tell their truth. But let me just say this, when you talk about truth, with what President Donald J. Trump did, with him just giving an open platform for Democrats to show their demonicism. I mean, he just allowed it to be shown. When he asked that question for them to stand, and he asked the question and said the first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. What that demonstrated to the whole entire world that was watching is that Democrats is anti-America. They're anti-Americans, and they're not working for the need of American citizens. They're working for their own greed, and they're working for a group of people that's not even supposed to be here in our country. So that's what President Trump basically put on display last night. And I believe that you even have Democrats, people, human beings that call themselves Democrats, that's really truly upset with the Democrat Party, because they now realize these people are not working for me, they're working for a whole nother group of people. And people are coming to that realization, which is really, really incredible.
Yes, they are. And it's becoming more extreme when it comes to the left. On the right, if you just sum it up, and I've said it before, God, family, country, right? Common sense, truth, justice, the American way, the Constitution, we the people. That's what your heart beats for, isn't it?
Most definitely. Most definitely. How can you be here as an American citizen and not love America? How can you not love where you stay? You know what I'm saying? If this is what you are a part of, you love it, and you don't want to see it be destroyed, especially by these career corrupt politicians who seeks to destroy America. You don't want to see your country destroyed. You don't want to see your sovereignty ripped away by individuals that's not supposed to be in our country. We want USA red, white, and blue. is what we stand for, and that's what we are all about, a constitutional republic governed by constitutional laws. We're not a democracy, okay? I don't want to be a democracy. And these individuals that talks about, oh, our democracy, they need to go to the foreign countries that believe in democracy. It's not the United States of America, because once again, we are a country of laws, law and order here in America. And people, that's what we're governed by, and you need to abide by it. If you can't do it, then you can leave this great country, the United States of America.
There's nothing more to say with that, Silk. I mean, because that's what people are agreeing, I'm sure right now that are watching, that are on the right side of history. Can you encourage the women of America right now, the conservative women that are watching you, Silk, because they hear you ripping it, they hear you going for it, they hear the show that you have. What would you say to conservative women out there that might not have a podcast, might not have that much social media going on? How can they, what's their outlet to really stand up for our country?
Well, this is the outlet that you do have. We all have, which is called a voice. Your voice is your power. All you got to do is open up your mouth and use it. Stop living in fear, and stop being fearful of walking through the gates of the unknown. Despite not knowing what could happen, how it could happen, just know that your voice is enough. And all you got to do is use it. There are so many different tools and avenues out here. Even if you have one person watching you, all it takes is that one. Utilize your voice and speak your mind, speak your truth. You know, Matt, when my sister and I first got started, we had nobody. We wasn't really looking for nobody. All she had was YouTube. And she loved YouTube because YouTube let her curse, okay? And, I came along, of course, a few months later, because what I was doing is I was promoting my sister and her voice. Then I was allowed to utilize my voice on the same platform, and now Diamond and Silk was born. So utilize your voice. Don't look for people to take and validate you. Validate yourself by opening up your mouth. You have family, tell your truth, speak your truth to them. If they don't want to listen, kick the dust off your feet and go on, continue to walk on. But the deal is you planted a seed. One thing about women, we love planting our seeds, nurturing that seed, watering that seed. Give that seed some sunlight, and guess what? That golden nugget will grow. It will grow. So that's my encouragement for the conservative women, for all people. Utilize your voice. You have your own mind to think for yourself. Nobody should have to think for you. You have your own mouth to speak for yourself. Utilize your voice, because once again, your voice is your power.
That is the truth right there. And they want us, the left or the people that are on the wrong side of history, want us to be silent, want us to be quiet. Shh, you shouldn't say that. You shouldn't think that. That's what the other countries are doing to their people. Not with you, not with me, and not with conservative media as a whole, because we're the heartbeat of America, just like we the people are. We love our country. We want our freedoms. We want to be able to say what we want to say. And that's that, right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
Most definitely.
But also, Silk, I was thinking while you're talking there, when you and your sister, your late sister, went onto the stage when President Trump was campaigning years ago, he called you guys up there. I watched this. I think this was a few months back, but man, it's awesome when those opportunities happened. And to your other point about fear, the cave that you fear to enter has your greatest reward. And that's exactly what you did. You entered that cave. And I think we need to do that as a country for people that really, really, really believe in God,
that's right,
family, country, freedom, common sense, truth, justice, and the American way. If you believe that, I do, Silk does, let's enter that cave. If there's a cave that you fear to enter, that might just have your greatest reward. Silk, your closing comments.
Amen to that. Walk through the fear of the unknown. Don't be scared to do so. One thing that my late sister will always say, if you ever want to make God laugh, tell him your plans, because we had no plans for this. So walk through the fear of the unknown. Do not be scared to do so. And you know, Matt, that's why I feel like in so many instances, I'm like the most censored woman in America, because they don't want my voice out there, because I don't have a problem with saying it the way I feel it. And it resonates with a whole lot of individuals. I get so many emails where people are thanking me for being their voice. And I'm encouraging them to utilize your voice. Let me tell you something. If people can come here from a whole nother country, get out in our streets here in America and utilize our streets to promote their voices, why can't we? And we were born here on this soil. Oh, boy, you about to get me to start preaching around here.
Come on.
We have our voice, so you use it. You get in your own streets here in America, and you start utilizing your voice. If they get out in the streets and start praying all of these different things that you don't even know what they're talking about, Christians get together, get your Christian music. Get out there in the street and start praising God and telling Satan, the Lord rebuke you in the name of Jesus, is what we got to continue to do around these parts, because America was founded on Judea Christian values. And that's what we got to keep lifted up here in America. Now, I'm going to calm on down.
No,
Matt,
Silk, because I'll tell you what, this is the thing. I don't like when you calm down. I like when you keep it on, you know, because so many times too, you know, preaching, that's what really preaching is really going for it. And it's not something that is preaching and then saying, hey, also let me get your dollars for our church. It should be just preaching. But anyway, but that's a different point. But yeah. With you, Silk, CNN, MS Now, British Broadcasting Company, BBC, Sky News, the Australian Broadcasting Company, France 24, I'm being a news nerd right now, I-24 in Israel, all of these networks, let's keep naming all the networks, Russia Today, how about NBC, ABC, CBS, The Washington Post? I can guarantee you something. A lot of them, most of them, are on the left side of history, are leftists. They would not ever dare to call you, Silk, and say, hey, Silk, you know, you're a so-called minority, which who cares? Let's be honest. You are an awesome Christian woman of God in this country, standing for all the right things. But they don't want someone like you on there, do they?
Oh, Lord, no. They don't want, Let me tell you, whenever they did call my sister and I on those networks, it was basically one time. Because once they realized that they could not talk us down, change our minds, influence us to think for another way and go along with their narrative, it was like, no, we don't want them back. No worries whatsoever. Thank God we have RSBN, Right Side Broadcasting Network, Matt, that don't have a problem with a Silk being on the network and spilling the beans and the collard greens and the in-between with the side of onion rings. Honey, I don't have a problem with doing it. So I'm so grateful for you all. But those individuals know they do not want me on. They don't want my voice on, because they know that I'm going to speak straight up common sense without all of those big words that nobody can say or understand. I'm going to speak common sense to where it resonates with the individual and they know exactly what I am speaking about. That's what's going on. Yes, yes, yes. And that's how they operate. And I want you to just say this here, just to sum it up with what our president did last night. That's what we needed. That's what this country needed. That's what we've been waiting for. We've been waiting on President Trump to swiftly kick the Democrats in their face without actually using his feet. And now all the world, the whole world can see who's for us and who is against us. So I'm so grateful, and thank you so much for having me on. And anytime you need me, you know what to do. You know what to do, Matt.
I do.
Yeah.
And in closing, Silk, I think we should have a massive free speech event in honor of the great late Charlie Kirk, and you being the headline speaker, right? Just have a huge celebration of freedom of speech. You know, when you say those words, freedom of speech, and our constitutional rights, right? I wonder how that makes the leftists or those that hate God, family, country, and all of our freedoms, how that makes them feel. Well, regardless, facts over feelings, right, Silk?
Yes, freedom of speech. If they are free to speak their speech freely, then we are free to speak our speech freely as well. That's where the common ground has been misconstrued. We have a right to speak, and you don't have to like it. Just like you have a right to speak, I don't have to like it. But what's happened is our loony left have decided that you don't get that right. You don't get that right. You shouldn't say this. You can't say this. And they do everything they can to silence us. And we cannot allow that. That's why we have to continue to speak freely, because we do have a right to freedom of speech. And I'm going to continue to speak my speech as free as I can, period, no matter. And let me just say one thing about this Ilhan Omar. You know, the first three letters of her name is Ill, I-L-L. She is really, truly a sick woman. And I believe that they need to denaturalize her and deport her the hell out of our country. I believe that she have shown her true colors, and a lot of these Somalians that they allowed over here into our country illegally, gave them naturalization illegally. They all need to be denaturalized and deported. She should not be in Congress. Who is she representing is not Americans. The America is governed by American people, not Somalians. And that's who the representatives need to be representing there in Congress and in the Senate. American citizens, not these foreigners that came from a whole foreign country that's illegally here in America. So I just had to go ahead on and throw that plug in as well. And you know, they have freedom of speech too. She spoke, she took and yelled out, looked just like a starnated fool yelling out, but she had her freedom of speech. But guess what? President Trump had the mic. It was a total mic drop, an epic performance. I mean, just drop the doggone mic.
It's so funny. It's like we're on the same wavelength. I literally just picked up a microphone that's in here, an RSBN microphone. I'm not going to drop it on the desk. I'm not trying to break anything. You know what I mean? But it's exactly what it is. Silk, another mic drop here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. So funny you just mentioned that. Wow. It's exactly what it is. I don't know. That's pretty cool how that works. But Silk, you're a rock star. Thanks again for spitting truth, because that's what we, the people, want. They're sick and tired of the crap on the left, the mainstream media, the whole fake news ecosystem. You know, we, the people, know which ones in the fake news out of all these networks that are out there, all the talking, all the social media. You know what? Sometimes, Silk, you just need to get, after we talk like this, sometimes it's good to just get in the car, think about God, you know, meditate a little bit, pray, and understand that we love our God, our family, and our country. Silk, you're a rock star. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so much, and God bless you. God bless everybody that's under the sound of my voice. I love you. God bless.
You too. Love you. All right. There's Silk. Again, that was pretty cool, the whole mic drop thing. Anyway. All right, let's go to a couple of our sponsors, and then we'll have one more interview, a recorded interview with Tim Rivers. He's a conservative author out there, really standing up for the J6ers. So we're going to get to that in just a hot second. Let's go to mypillow.com/RSBN. A lot of great products, of course, more than 2,000 to choose from. If you haven't visited the site in a while, just check it out. mypillow.com/RSBN. You can save a lot of money, but also outside of that, you have a great company there with a lot of great products. Of course, Mike Lindell running for governor in Minnesota, the gubernatorial candidate. It would be great to have Mike as the leader of that state instead of someone like Tim Walz. If you remember, during the whole crazy stuff going on there with ICE and all that, Tim Walz stood behind a wall talking to his so-called supporters. Why not step out? You don't need a wall, right? Just let everybody into your house there. It's okay. That's kind of like our country. You can't just let anybody into our house. Anyway, got off track there. mypillow.com/RSBN, great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. If we have one more sponsor before we go to our next interview, let's go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. So just a quick question for you out there. When was the last time you actually restocked your medicine cabinet? Most people wait until someone gets sick, unfortunately. Then they're scrambling, calling the doctor, waiting on appointments, and hoping the pharmacy has what they need. So, of course, you should already have what you need at home, especially when it comes to medicine like this. So if you go to allfamilypharmacy.com, you can stock up in advance on essentials like antibiotics, antivirals, ivermectin, mebendazole, NAD+, Tamiflu, and more. And they have more than 300 prescription medications available, everything reviewed and prescribed safely by their licensed doctors and shipped straight to your door. So you can be prepared before you need it. Just go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN10 promo code to get 10% off on the essentials you want to keep in your medicine cabinet. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. All right, so it's 3:44 Eastern Time. We have time for a few more things before we close our broadcast at about 4 o'clock. Then the only way this broadcast would continue on is one, any breaking news, developing news stories, which have happened before right here live on Right Side. If you remember some of the stories we've covered, definitely have extended coverage before. Also, on the president's schedule today, for those of you joining us wondering, well, what's the president doing today? Well, we talked about this at about 2 o'clock when we started. At 3 o'clock, which obviously was 44 minutes ago, the president had a meeting with the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy. At 4:30 Eastern, the president will participate in a policy meeting in the Oval Office. All of this right now closed to the press, of course, on the heels of the State of the Union address. And we may go back to some clips from the State of the Union address in just a second. Before we do, let's go to that interview with Tim Rivers, a conservative author. Joining us right now on Right Side Broadcasting Network is Tim Rivers, the founder of the American Gulag Chronicles. Thank you so much for joining us, Tim.
Oh, thank you for having me on the show.
Definitely.
Thank you very much.
Definitely. Let's talk about some of the chronicles that you have there about J6, right?
Yes, actually, these are all of the letters and the art and the stories from the prisoners of January 6th. Over 1,700 people were indicted, and well over 400, 500 spent time in federal prisons. Many of them never saw trial. And they wrote to their supporters, and their supporters wrote back. And these are their letters that these prisoners sent to their supporters around the world, not just America, but in countries across the world. It became quite an activist to see American political prisoners in our time. And these books chronicle that time.
And can you talk to us, let's rewind a bit. Why do you do what you do?
I'm a retired Fortune 100 executive. I was basically just puttering around doing what retired people are supposed to be doing. And I started working in election integrity after the shock of November 2020 with Mike Lindell and some folks here in Defend Florida. And what we found kind of proved that our elections had big problems. And then January 6th happened, and people who were protesting those elections began getting thrown into federal prisons in these horrible SWAT raids where their families and their children, even babes in arms, dragged into the street, loaded guns pointed at them, and taken as if domestic terrorists. That's how I started with that. I wrote a letter to one of these folks, and the reply I got back, it just blew my mind, Matthew, because it was from a 30-year military veteran, a Ranger, who then got out of the military. 9/11 happened, went back into the military, became a Green Beret, spent a whole lot of time in places you and I never want to see. And he's writing to me from this prison in D.C., where he's describing what is basically torture and inhumane treatment because of what he did that day, defending a very old lady who'd been knocked down the steps repeatedly by a police shield. And it kind of set me on fire. And I started writing other prisoners, and they started writing back, and I started publishing these letters. And that really set it ablaze. And other people who had been writing to them began to send me their letters, and they accumulated so many of them at J6 Patriot News, which was like a funnel that we created for this community of families to keep track of where their loved ones were being sent around the country. And they got to be so many of them that they needed to be memorialized, because this was a chronicle of our time told in first-person testimony, something that we weren't hearing from the media. We certainly weren't hearing it from the 46th administration. These were domestic terrorists, horrible people. And then you read the stories, and they're Christians, and they're leaders of their community, they're police officers, they're firefighters, they're EMTs, they're military veterans, they're people that have been, in the case of Jeff McKellop, who hold 3 Bronze Stars. How do you treat people like that who would put their lives on the line for the country the way these people were treated? And nobody would believe it if you didn't read it in their own letters, if you didn't hear it in their own testimonies. You would not believe that this happened in your country, in America.
And the constitutional rights out the door. I mean, I interviewed J6er John Strand and many others out there, you know, just about their stories. And for you to do what you do day in and day out for the American people, to let them know, hey, this is the context of what happened. But I still want to drill down with you a little bit more. As a patriot, what made you a patriot? Was it from day one, your upbringing? What happened that you really said, I have to stand up for all this?
That's a really good question. My father was a Korean War veteran, as is my father-in-law, who I care for now. Amazing people who gave a lot for their country, were willing to put their lives on the line, put their lives on hold, and was raised and served with the company that I was an executive with. I spent many years at MacDill Air Force Base working with the veterans and the active duty personnel there through many campaigns. And I have a great respect for the military. And I guess what really did me in, Matthew, was that first letter I got back was from America. It was an American war hero. And here he was being treated in this outrageous manner, subjected to the most indignities that anybody could ever imagine happening in an American prison or an American jail. And yet the public knew nothing of it. And that really just set me on fire. I think that may have set a spark that always has lived within me, the wish to do something for my country. I miss I was a crypto technician, so I did not have to go to Vietnam, even though I was a 1A. And in the end, I kind of regretted not being able to serve in that capacity. Maybe this was a way to give back, and it has not stopped. I mean, I've met so many amazing heroes and advocates like myself who are just ordinary people, just going about their lives as ordinary Americans who were called to duty, so to speak. Whether you believe it is faith-filled, or you received the divine notice, or whether it was just your pure patriotism and love of country and fear for your children that brings us to the fight. And I've been privileged to be in the fight.
Well, this is what I've said to other people that have been on that would say something like you, an everyday American, you, me, anybody out there that loves God, family, country, freedom, common sense, truth, justice, the American way, we are on the right side of history. We are the rock stars because we the people. And I think that, people have to understand and respect that much more than having to respect just a politician. We've got some great we the people types that are in office, of course, but not many. So I think we need to start encouraging each other in that way. And that's what I would want to say to you. And I know you said you were 70 years old. I'm 44, so I should be listening to your wisdom. But the point is, we love people like you because you love freedom and you're doing the right thing. And in closing, can you just share with us any advice or anything you'd want to say to other people that you said something great. You said, I had to do something for my country. I had to stand up and do something. What would you say to those people out there that are on that edge and they haven't done anything yet, but they want to?
I think they feel powerless sometimes, but you still have the power of action. Remember that for those of you who don't know who Boffheimer is, he said, not to act is to act. Not to speak is to speak, and God will not forgive our guilts. And so we need to remember that each of us who is an American citizen who believes in the country has a duty. No, it's not you got it. It's a duty. It was given to you by your forefathers who bled for it. And your children will not have it if you're not willing to bleed for it. Here's how you can help. These books need to be memorialized in history. There are many powerful people and institutions who would not like you to read what's in these books because they reveal something about our country that is deeply disturbing and requires immediate therapy. And we are the doctors, we the people. You won't know how to diagnose this problem if you don't look at the symptoms. These books are 4 years of misery of American patriots who stood for their country, and who shared their experiences, why they went, what they believe in, who they are with you, the American public. If we don't preserve these messages, if we don't preserve the records of this time, it will go down in history the way authority wants you to believe it happened. And that's what's important about the books. It's what's important about the January 6th Historical Panel of Inquiry that we did. It's what's important about all the books and letters that other J6ers are beginning to write, because this is history that is redacted. And if we do not peel back the black, if we do not preserve the records, then history will be rewritten. Many people say victors write history. I'm telling you, it's the record keepers who write history. Be a record keeper. Buy these books, go to Letters from Prison. That's so easy. First book name, lettersfromprison.us. You can look at these books, read some of the letters for free. I hope it sets your heart on fire like it did me, because we need patriots at the forefront now. We are in threat. Many people think we've crossed the Rubicon because of Trump and the things that have happened. But I tell you, my friends, midterms are right ahead of us, and the enemy has not gone away. And so if you love your country, do something to preserve it, do something to act. Make sure you vote this coming election. Make sure you make the right choices and do your research. Be an American, do your duty, and we will right the republic. But if we ignore it, we're all in for a really bad ride. And these people will tell you what it's like.
That's a great point. Exactly right. And finally, a shout out to Tucker Carlson for showing the video from inside the Capitol on January 6th. The Democrats and others, no, don't show the video, don't show it, no, don't show the truth. And then Tucker did. And then he doesn't even work there anymore. Well,
that's how you're rewarded in the major media. But that's why it's up to we the people. And that's what these books are about. That's what I'm about. That's what you're about. It's not we the people. It's me the people. Don't forget that.
Tim Rivers, the founder of the American Gulag Chronicles. Tim, thanks so much for joining us on Right Side. And once again, if you've missed any of the live interviews, recorded interviews, and any of the clips throughout the past couple hours, you can always, of course, scrub back or watch it on replay, that kind of thing, if you're just joining us now. But if you're watching this on replay, thanks again for doing so. We're going to close with a couple clips here. Let's go back to last night, where President Trump called out Nancy Pelosi and talked about the Insider Trading Act. Let's take a look.
We ensure that all Americans can profit from a rising stock market. Let's also ensure that members of Congress cannot corruptly profit from using insider information. They stood up for that. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Did Nancy Pelosi stand up if she's here? Doubt it. Pass the Stop Insider Trading Act without delay. I wasn't sure if anybody, even on this side, was going to applaud for that. I'm very impressed. Thank you. I'm very impressed.
So you saw the president there just last night, of course, talking about Nancy Pelosi, of course, who was not in attendance at that time, but of course watching somewhere, I'm sure. All right, so obviously covering the latest from President Trump and the White House there as the sun's going down, as it's 4 o'clock there, about 3 minutes out. Let's go to a couple of our great sponsors before we go to our last clip of the broadcast. Quick question for you. When was the last time you actually restocked your medicine cabinet? Most people wait until someone gets sick. Then they're scrambling and calling the doctor, waiting on appointments, and hoping the pharmacy has what they need. And of course, you can always have what you need by going to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can stock up in advance on essentials like antibiotics, antivirals, ivermectin, mebendazole, N80+, Tamiflu, and more. There are more than 300 prescription medications available. Everything is reviewed and prescribed safely by All Family Pharmacy's licensed doctors and then shipped straight to your door. So you can be prepared before you need it. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can use that RSBN10 promo code to save that 10%. All you have to do is go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Speaking of Right Side, if you'd like to donate to us, all you have to do is go to rsbnetwork.com/donate as we continue to cover all sorts of news, whether here in Alabama or out there throughout the great United States of America. We know that in Texas, President Trump will be there on Friday in Corpus Christi for another speech, just like we had RSBN host Robert McNeely in Iowa. Of course, we'll be airing that speech live on Friday out of Corpus Christi, Texas. All right, we have about a minute left in the broadcast. Why don't we do this? Why don't we end with something that is quite awesome. Another great moment from last night as President Trump awarded many medals to great patriots, including the Purple Heart to Andrew Wolf. Andrew Wolf is that West Virginia National Guardsman who was shot in Washington, D.C. And why don't we do this? After this clip is over, that'll be the end of the broadcast. We'll just end it that way because this is about people that have fought for our freedom and also are out there trying to protect us. Someone like Andrew Wolf. This guy is again, West Virginia National Guardsman. And we saw what happened there. He gets shot, but he has survived and received that Purple Heart. And we will not forget the National Guardsman out of West Virginia as well that lost her life several months ago. Let's go to Washington, D.C. right now.
So, Andrew, while you're up, now I'm going to ask a highly respected General James Seward to present Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf and the great family of Sarah Beckstrom with the award created by our late, great President George Washington himself. It's called the Purple Heart. We love you all. Love you.